Lilliput in some way marshaled to the difficulty of being faced with the giant. Can we do the same faced with Wittgenstein's discovery of the ready-to-hand, independent discovery of the ready-to-hand in the hand gestures? This shows Heidegger's, one of Heidegger's initial, as it were, groping attempts to do the analysis of being as such. We have the problem of language and pictures, Wittgenstein's notion that everything you say can be put into a picture, and then he sees the problem of gesture, that one can make a gesture, and that this goes outside the normal sense in which language are words that are then put to pictures. The gesture is already a picture. So the gesture made with the hands, different gestures can be made with the hands, including the whole of language with sign language. Manus in Latin, manipulable, manual, as in manual labor, etc., brings us into this Zuhanden. And we see that this transfer of the house of being directly into a thing. So Aristotle says the hand is the equipment, or the first tool, more accurately, but the prototype of all tools. So the hand is already, as the ancient said, the left hand is already better at holding the reins than is the right, which in general would seem ironic, because most people are right-handed, probably sinister-handed, as it were. So if language is the house of being, but language is not merely to be limited by any particular being because it appears in the touchable, or the that which is defined by the hand as something which is already in the midst of speaking, then we have a kind of doorway to the first Greek notion of the presence at hand, understood as the idea. So far is idea tends towards being thought as concept, or concept is necessarily connected to some word, which is tree. You have the word, and then you have to have some sort of semiotic theory, some sort of Levi Strauss theory, or Charles Sanders' first theory about how language signifies, about the relationship between language, or logos, or speech. Doesn't have to be necessarily, I guess, a creature or a written speech, but somehow language understood as that which in phonemes or in speech, rather than mere noise, can be put down and then turned into word symbols. But then you see, since it's already there in the hand, in the equipment, which is the touching equipment. Touch, every example Heidegger gives of ready to hand is about things that you can touch, touchable. You see that language is already there, and that language understood as the house of being has a very ambiguous sense at first blush, and then one has to, as it were, try to reassure oneself that there's a possibility, and amidst such a unclarity about how to begin with this because that itself is an account of what phenomenology is, what the initial phenomenon is. It's a language, but it's a very difficult account because you seem to sort of already have had the notion of language in some naive sense as speech, as what is written, uh, as glossa rather than logos, maybe as as Greek language rather than merely speaking in any language. It, problems like that, and then you move over to this saying this the sign language, connecting it to the hand. The hand is already doing something; it's already involved in something. Language is just as much an involvement as a bench or sitting on a bench. Uh, it's a concerned activity. Um, so brought into this notion, uh, we have uh, made difficult every linguistic utterance by connecting by not knowing what language is and this, as it were, doing this fragilize or making fragile of our surety that what we want to do with language is say here's language on one side, here's the world on the other side, but we mix that up so that we don't know if we can do this logical, not just logical positivist problem, but any problem that sets language as though language were the thing that could do all kinds of imaginary tricks, the Steven Pinker notion of language, and then the world as the literal, which language seldom speaks with any clarity due to its deplorable faculty of misleading people like Steven Pinker that want a clear view of everything, but maybe even serious people like Witgenstein who thought through it, but then realized that it doesn't uh, work. The picture view of language doesn't work, and then language becomes something which is part of the world, and therefore which one can't say there's one problem language, there's another problem what it's describing, which makes everything on a different footing. And initially, again, rather like that saying about JFK, that JFK Jr. Uh, being in a part of the sky where you couldn't distinguish up from down. The sky was just like ink, and therefore the pilot pulls down instead of up and crashes. Um, that, by the way, my grandfather had something like that happen to him. It just occurs to me as another example of sort of disorientation. The famous one was Nietzsche with all the things about the lighting the lamps in the morning and all that. But this was in the Yellow River in China, and it's there's at the time it was Mao had done his famous swim and all that stuff, but he was far enough deep in it where he couldn't tell whether he's swimming up or swimming down. So that's a frightening thing, I would say. Although I suppose when you're in it, you just go along with the struggle. So I think we should just, even though this problem is quite opaque, uh, one is really compelled to enter into it as a possible avenue to lay down terms which show what's going on with that, and to, in some way, control it as a form of Wissenschaft, as something that can be seriously investigated to see where uh, it will lead, maybe only in 1,000 years, maybe in 20,000 years, but whether there's something to be learned there.